This is a Dad's Guide podcast, episode number 2. My name's Anthony Kim. I'm really glad you could join me today. So, today I'm going to read to you from my book, A Man's Guide to Newborn Babies, How to Thrive as a New Father When Baby Arrives. I wrote this book starting a couple weeks after my daughter was born, and it took about another 4 months after that. I was so thrilled to have a baby girl in my life that I just started writing about the experiences. It never really meant to be a book in the first place. But then as my writings kind of evolved, I thought, I got to do something with this. So I talked it over with my wife and my friends and my family, and I decided to publish it as a book on Amazon Kindle. I'd heard about self-publishing, so I thought it was a really exciting idea. My book is available on Amazon Kindle and iTunes, as well as in paperback form if you want to have a physical copy around with you or to give to a gift to somebody. So I'm going to read to you the introduction, which kind of tells you a bit of my motivations for writing this book, as well as my experiences about being a new father. So here's the introduction. On Mother's Day, my baby girl Victoria came into the world and I was a new father. It was the happiest day of my life. I held this blue-gray, shriveled, hairy, cross-eyed little human being in my arms, and I thought that she was the most beautiful thing in the world. Then, a whirlwind of events went by. Doctors stitched up my wife, nurses measured our baby, orderlies cleaned up what looked like a murder scene, and relatives visited my new family. We were whisked off to the maternity section. A trio of no-nonsense nurses with thick Eastern European accents very rapidly did their checks and left us to our own devices. Everything quickly devolved into confusion as to what the heck I should do now. All of the books, websites, and advice from family and friends pretty much went out the window, and my wife and I had to figure out a lot of things for ourselves. From then until the completion of the first draft of this book, it has been 4 months since Victoria was born, and I feel like I learned a colossal amount of how to be a new dad to a newborn baby. There's so much stuff out there to prepare a couple for when a baby arrives. I absolutely consumed all this material. There are websites, books, videos, classes. All of these resources contain really great stuff you definitely need to know. Even with all this knowledge available, there was a pretty glaring omission in the literature. What became pretty clear to me before and after our baby was born was how little material there was out there geared towards how new dads can be the best they can be during the transition into fatherhood. Luckily for us, my wife and I hit the learning curve hard and figured things out rapidly. We quickly adjusted to our new reality and became a happy and functional family. I am not sure that this is the experience of a lot of new dads. A lot of the fathers that I talked to before Victoria's birth actually had quite a lot of negative things to say about taking care of babies. Sleep deprivation, cranky wives, loss of freedom, you name it. I often hear new dads and moms swear off having another child because of all the difficulties they had with their first. I think that it is a tragedy that some first-time parents decide not to have more children just because they could not figure out how to take care of babies effectively, efficiently, and with minimal stress. There are lots of unwanted consequences from not knowing how to make the transition to parenthood smoothly. Marital strife, financial difficulties, stress, depression, and sleeplessness are all the fallout from an inability to deal with the additional responsibilities of having a child. I strongly believe that a baby's development is negatively impacted by stressed out, overworked, and overwhelmed parents. It is an unfortunate reality that many children are held back in their personal growth because their parents lack information on how to do the job efficiently. But it really doesn't have to be this way. As a new dad, you have the power to guide your new family smoothly through the transition period after your baby is born. There are dozens of life hacks that a new dad can do before and after the birth that can make taking care of a newborn 1,000 times easier. I think it is really important to try to minimize the challenges so that you can fully enjoy the rather wonderful experience of being a father to a newborn baby. I want to tell the next new father I meet that having a baby is a transcendently happy experience, not a miserable slog. I want to tell that guy who is scared of having a kid that once optimized systems are in place, everything will be just fine. The reason why I sat down to write this book is because everyone was saying how unusually well rested and happy I was when my baby was born. Some people were actually annoyed at my buoyant behavior, especially the ones who warned me before Victoria's birth about how miserable and sleep deprived I would be. My wife was handling things well with the sudden changes in her life. My baby was thriving. All indicators such as weight gain, head size, and height were following normal trajectories, and she was ahead of the curve when it came to developmental milestones. I figured that I was doing something right, and I wanted to share it with as many guys as possible. One of the things that I found really important is to take care of all 3 people in your family: your baby, your wife, and you. I strongly suggest that you take the lead in taking care of the physical and mental health of your wife, who just got her ass kicked by passing a whole human being through her down there. It is also very important to take care of you. As a new dad, you have to be the rock in the family. Wife care and self-care are synergistic with your baby's well-being. This book is essentially a collection of life hacks for new dads that is divided into 3 parts: self-care, wife care, and baby care. Self-care is vital, as you have to be the rock of the family for the first few months while your baby is totally helpless and your wife is recovering physically and emotionally from the insane trauma of giving birth. Wife care must be guided by you, as your wife will instinctively want to take care of the baby ahead of taking care of herself. You need to wrestle down the maternal instinct a little bit in order to make sure your wife is happy and healthy. The last part of this book is on baby care. This part has a slew of life hacks to make the care and feeding of a newborn as efficient as possible. Things change pretty quickly with the baby's development. The content in this book focuses on the first 3 months after birth, but is still largely applicable up to age 6 months. I do not offer any specific medical advice for your baby or for your wife beyond the obvious stuff. Breast milk is best, make sure you exercise, and such. Rather, this book is meant as a guide to make your transition into parenthood as smooth and enjoyable as possible. So, make the transition to fatherhood thrivable, not just survivable. I really hope this helps you guys in this excellent new phase of life. So that's the introduction chapter to A Man's Guide to Newborn Babies. In the next episode, I'm going to continue reading from my book, and the topic in the next episode is how to mentally prepare yourself for being a new father. Now, take anything in life, like a sport or your business or your job. When you have good mental game and a positive attitude, then that thing that you're doing is that much easier to achieve, that much more effective. So that's it for today. This is a Dad's Guide podcast. Be sure to check in with me at my blog, adadsguide.org, or check out my Amazon author page. The link is in the show notes. So I hope to see you next time. This is Anthony Kim signing off, reminding you to strive to be a great dad right from the start.